Hi, this is Rob. Wanted to talk about a few subjects that I did not touch upon on my last channel, Angel Deluz 1970. And I want to also thank my guides for helping me to understand this more deeply, and that's why I'm posting these videos right now. Most New Agers and people who are into New Thought consider the whole entire idea of a hell to be a myth. And that basically self-realization is just understanding our unity with all things, and it's just going to evolve, and basically that is true. But there are a lot of things that they don't talk about. One thing is the definition of hell, which I've already posted a video about this. But I wanted to give you a new definition of hell, something that I've learned firsthand. Hell, imagine loving somebody so much and you did something terrible, maybe many times, to hurt that person. And without the forgiveness that we talked about, imagine that that person never wants to see you, ever, ever, ever. Not after this life, not ever. Never wants to see you, never wants to lay eyes on you, never wants to associate with you because of something you have done. And without the forgiveness, then that's going to come between you. Basically, though, let's just say that forgiveness was not extended. So you decide you're going to go on. Where would you go? Any place you would go, it wouldn't matter how beautiful the place is, no matter how beautiful the state is, no matter how blissful or peaceful you feel, without the association of that person, that would be hell. And I've come to realize that hell is a very real state. I don't think that the universe intends for any state to be a permanent, everlasting, for infinity kind of a thing. But it sure can feel like it. And as long as it feels like it, as long as it feels like forever, then forever is a very, very, very long time. So it kind of goes back to the topic of forgiveness. First of all, when you have wronged somebody in a lifetime or many lifetimes, and forgiveness isn't extended or accepted, then especially if that person is somebody you care about, somebody that you've associated with or wanted to associate with, that you feel you could never imagine yourself without, that state of being separate is hell, basically. I'm going around in circles, and it's all coming back to the topic of forgiveness. And that's one of the things I wanted to touch upon today. So many things that I've shared in other videos about time and space, about conscious creation, about manifesting your reality, and all of the things that the so-called masters teach, which I am not one of. Those are all wonderful things. They help us to reawaken to unity. But it's more important to actually forgive. Because beyond this life, you're going to reawaken to unity. I mean, it's our state. It's our natural state. Unity. Unity of the universe. Unity of everybody. Unity of all things is our natural state. That's going to happen. You're going to reawaken to greater portions of your higher self, whether you know about it or not. Whether you understand about simultaneous time, or about parallel realities, or about conscious creation. The reality is, beyond this life, you're going to wake up to those things anyways. But without forgiveness, forgiveness is what keeps you stuck in the illusion, without forgiveness, stuck in the illusion of separation, which is a hell, especially when you feel separated from somebody, a person or persons that you care about deeply, remaining separate or the idea that you can never be a part of that person or associate, that's hell. And I put the understanding of mystic realities ahead of a greater understanding of how important forgiveness is. Again, I want to say that it doesn't matter how much you understand about any mystic realities. Without forgiveness, you're never going to reach them anyways. There have been times where in my own life I have been hurt so deeply at times by other people that in my anger and in my self-pity, in my anger at the universe because of something that I perceived that felt genuinely painful to me, in my anger, I did not ever want to desire to be one with those who have hurt me. And so what that does is it keeps me from returning to that state. Now they're there anyways. We exist at all higher levels, but to actually realize it, you can't realize that unity without forgiving others. Because without forgiveness, you're not going to want to return to that state. You would rather stay in your anger, your sadness, your regrets, despair, self-hatred. You would rather stay in those states and keep yourself separate, even though you're not. Perceive yourself as separate, even though you're not. Than to forgive and open yourself up to who you really are beyond time and space. Forgiveness is what Christ taught. And that's the gate to the kingdom of heaven. Without forgiveness and without accepting forgiveness, that's another thing too. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but you can be forgiven of something, especially if you hurt somebody that you really care about. That's when accepting forgiveness is the hardest. Because you want to naturally accept it, but then at the same time you begin to hate yourself so much because of something you had done that was so horrible, and it's almost as if you cannot even accept the forgiveness that was extended to you. So basically you would rather linger in despair and regret and in sadness than to accept the forgiveness and move on with that person. I think that accepting forgiveness and extending forgiveness go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Now you can imagine if you forgave somebody genuinely because you loved a person and they had wronged you maybe many times deeply, and you forgave that person. You wanted that person to go on with you, to go on to a higher state of consciousness, and that person accepts your forgiveness but decides that he or she is so angry at himself that he'd rather linger in darkness and in despair than to accept the forgiveness, relinquish self-hatred, and move on. And if that happens, if you really love somebody that you forgave, then you wouldn't want to leave them in that darkness. So you'd probably end up staying there with them. I know I would. Stay there with them until they relinquish it. So you're punishing the person again that have forgiven you. It goes hand in hand. I see it as a circle, as a loop that's connected between accepting forgiveness and extending. And I want to reiterate one more time before I close this video. It is more important to understand those things than it is to understand the higher realities. But the higher realities are what we are here to understand and learn how to master as well. And we're going to screw up. We're going to screw up. I hate to say the word inevitable, but it probably is. Especially if you're someone who's continuing to want to grow and expand and try new things, it's going to happen. So then again, forgiveness is in there too. So I saw the picture, but I saw it as an independent journey. I really didn't see it as the forgiveness was essential as much as I thought it, as much as it is.